And mute. Give me just a sec.
In three, two, one. Hello, and welcome to. Actually, you know what? We're going to start that over. In three, two, one. There was actually more news in the NFL this week besides the Super Bowl, as the Washington football team made a move to secure a quarterback for this upcoming season as they acquired Alex Smith from the Kansas City Chiefs in basically what was a sign and trade, as they gave Alex Smith a 4-year extension worth $93 million, $71 million guaranteed. And they traded Kendall Fuller and a third round pick. It goes back over to Kansas City. So their best young defensive player and third round pick for Kansas City's quarterback, who's 4 years older than the guy that you're replacing. So, Dwayne, before I get into it, I will ask you your thoughts and kind of, the night it happened the same night as the State of the Union. So, a lot of people got entertainment out of the Washington football team because they weren't paying attention to the State of the Union address, and there was a lot of jokes being spread on social media.
Yeah, it was a lot of jokes, because the State of the Union was a joke, so I could see why we needed to entertain ourselves with the trade that the Washington football team made. I love it for Kansas City because um, Pat Mahomes is his time now. So he'll be the guy going forward. They use a first round pick on him for him to be sitting behind Alex Smith for much longer. They get a good secondary shore up in Kendall Fuller. We don't know if Darrell Reeves will be back in Kansas City, so he could be a good piece opposite Marcus Peters. And then Alex Smith, this is a win for him because he gets a chance to you know, continue being a starter somewhere and a team that wanted him. And then this could be a good thing for Washington's incumbent quarterback, Kirk Cousins, because now that he has options, Denver is looking very attractive now. So we'll just have to see how that plays out when free agency hits and moving forward.
Okay, so as we were talking, pre-show, this is like the next at least 3 years of my football life is Alex Smith as our quarterback. So as a Washington football fan, it's kind of like, okay, how do we get here? Well, it could have been so simple. It would have at any point paying Kirk Cousins would have looked foolish. So if you would have paid him this year, it was going to look foolish. If you paid him the year before, it's going to look foolish. But in actuality, it would have been a way to secure up building up your squad a lot sooner. After 2015, if they would have paid Kirk Cousins $20 million a season, give him $100 million contract for 5 years, he would be the 15th highest paid quarterback today. Now, in 2015, yes, he would have been like in the top 10, 8 quarterbacks in pay, but you have to look forward because it's all about the quarterback market is the only market that keeps going up every year. It gets higher and higher and higher and higher. Every other position player kind of has a cap on theirs except for the quarterback. So at that point, if the Redskins have foresight, then they'd have their quarterback, and then they would have been 3 years, 4 years into building up a better defense and getting him weapons because they wouldn't have to worry about all these franchise tags and transition tags. So even if you wanted to see it again in 2016, okay, you pay him $24 million. That's actually now in 2018 only $1 million more than you're paying Alex Smith to come in and be your quarterback. And again, you would be 2 years into worrying about building up the rest of your team, getting young defensive players, and being able to keep a player like Kendall Fuller to be able to replace Josh Norman, who's probably going to be on his way out after this year because his contract becomes too big to really sustain and keep if you're going to release Kirk Cousins and not pay him over $25 million a season. So, as an organization, the team doesn't see 3 and 4 years ahead. They just see the upcoming season and trying to win for the upcoming season. And that has been the downfall of the team. So they had a chance to say, okay, let's just draft a quarterback or let's just place Colt McCoy, who's been in our system. He's our backup. Let's give him the starting job. There's a chance that you could go 3-13, be at the top of the draft, and be able to get your future franchise quarterback. That's the best way to most times rebuild. It's just flat out be bad, get at the top of the draft, get a defensive player or quarterback. In this case, they would need a quarterback. So get your quarterback and then go from there. If they decided to go the route of let's get a veteran quarterback and let's just see if we can acquire with this extra salary cap money, since we're not paying a franchise tag or transition tag to Kirk Cousins this year, if we can attract enough free agents and draft enough good young players that we can get over the hump with good health and the returning health of the players that we have. It's yet to be seen. I knew that this would be a laugh at Washington situation either way it went. If they franchised Kirk Cousins again, they were going to get laughed at. If they didn't pay him, they were going to get laughed at. And whoever they brought in, because I knew it was going to be a Case Keenum or maybe an Alex Smith type of player, that was going to be their quarterback because they were going to go with a veteran. I don't think Dan Snyder, he's like Jerry Jones, even though to the benefit of Jerry Jones is what turned his team around, Tony Romo getting injured, and they went 3-13, and then they got Zeke and they go with that offensive line, and then, Dak as well in the same draft, and now they're kind of set up for, prosperity. But I just don't think Dan Snyder has it in him to go 3-13 and really be bad for like 2 years in a row to be good for 7 or 8. I just don't think anybody's been able to talk him into it and be convincing enough. But that's what the Washington football team really needs to do. So maybe in 3 years, when it's time to do this again, that'll be the route that they go. If Alex Smith can do what he does, which is be a proven playoff quarterback, get them to the playoffs 2 out of the 3 years, and then they decide, okay, we've gone as far as we can with Alex Smith. Let's, get us a young franchise quarterback and take the bullet and be bad. Then we can be good for a long time. So that's my take on it. Dwayne, anything else you want to add or anything you want to counter to what I said before we move on?
I think it's a good take. I also think that with Kirk Cousins, that's a pretty good window and a pretty good time frame, because the team's cap is a world mess right now, but it is going to clear up with Cousins leaving. I also think that with Alex Smith, I think if you get at least one reliable player, consistent player, and if you get the health of other players, you might be able to get a playoff berth or maybe a winning season out of it. But you really do want to, if you want to properly build in this day and age, like you said, and I agree with it, is sacrifice a couple years for 5 or 6 good ones. Take a look at the Panthers the year before they got Cam. They were pretty bad, but they've had 4 playoff berths in the last 6 years, and it's been pretty good success. And it's just one of those things where you got to get somebody who's hard-nosed football mind and you got to trust that hard nosed football mind into running that team and making sure that Dan Snyder does not meddle into those affairs. He wants to be a Jerry Jones, but he's not a Jerry Jones. Even Jerry Jones, the GM, needs to step down, but he's a lot better than Dan Snyder, the wannabe GM.
I think he's actually mellowed down in the past few years because the way that we spend money isn't the way it was. And when we were doing that, that was strictly just a Dan Snyder being a let me come in and close the deal type guy. But Bruce Allen, who basically is our football operations vice president guy, he views everything really on like a year to year basis, it seems like. And that's not really the way to work. I know every team is different from year to year, but you got to have like a 3 or 4 or 5 year plan, especially when you're dealing with a quarterback situation like the Redskins had, where they had a replacement for Robert Griffin on their team. It was just a matter of, coming to him with a respectable offer to, get him to sign. You already got him in the building, you got a coach that I guess was behind him. Gruden, maybe it'll come out that, Kurt and Gruden were kind of in an iffy place too. And that might've been something that, steered Kurt, not wanting to come back. It was reported that they didn't have any contact after the season from either side. The Cousins camp never countered and gave the Washington football team a number to negotiate towards. So, something was a disconnect, a misfire there. And, so they got him out of town and they got a replacement that wasn't a young guy. And that's the best they could have done for the mess that they made. So, we'll see how it plays out next year and moving forward. So moving on, of course, Super Bowl weekend, they give out all of the awards, the honors as far as the MVP, the rookies of the year, offensive and defensive rookies of the year. So Dwayne, we'll start, give you an opportunity here. Who do you want to, nominate or foresee as being first off the MVP?
Ooh, this is a tough one, but looking at the numbers, you can't ignore what Tom Brady's done all season. My MVP personally would be Carson Wentz because of what he did throughout the games before he got hurt. He was playing so well, lights out. He had about 33 touchdowns before he got hurt, and one of those touchdowns was on a bad knee. So personally, that's my MVP. However, I do see Tom Brady ending up getting it because he led the league in passing. He had 230 completions for first downs. That was most in the NFL. He's doing this at the age of 40, which is even more amazing. And so that would be my pick for the MVP. My sentimental pick is Wentz, but the pick would be Brady.
All right. I'm going to agree with you with Brady as well. Just another incredible season, just, putting up the numbers that he puts up. But I would definitely have a sentimental favorite in Todd Gurley. He had, just a career defining year this year under the offense of Sean McVay. He had some spectacular highlight runs. He, set career marks as far as receptions and touchdown catches and touchdown runs. So, he was really a big key in the resurgence of the Rams this year. So that would be kind of my sentimental favorite. But yeah, I agree with you. Brady, once again, just defined up, father time and just being his consistent self. It's just amazing. As far as offensive rookie of the year, do you think anybody besides Kareem Hunt is going to walk up there and accept that?
Alvin Kamara, the Saints.
Oh yeah.
He played, yeah. He came on late, but he came on very strong. He was a great returner, great receiver. So that would be my pick. I would put, going back a little bit to that Gurley pick, I would say he'd be a good pick for Offensive Player of the Year, personally.
All right. As far as a defensive rookie of the year, do you have a name there?
Staying in New Orleans, I'm going with Marcus Lattimore of the Saints, or Marshawn Lattimore, I should say. Forgive me if I got it wrong. So, but that would be my pick for the defensive rookie of the year. Had a great season. A couple games were out, but he was really lights out, and you know that would be my pick there.
All right. Now, also, we are going to have, the Hall of Fame announcements coming up, and we have 4 first ballot Hall of Famers this year, as we have Randy Moss is eligible, Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, and Steve Hutchinson. T.O. is in his second year of eligibility this year. There's been a big groundswell this year to try to get T.O. in. So, Dwayne, are we going to just get these 4 first timers in? And then, of course, they have the legends picks and the coach and the front office people. But as far as players go, is T.O. going to be shut out again? Just because, Ray Lewis for sure, Randy Moss for sure, Urlacher maybe, Steve Hutchinson as a guard could be maybe, but he was the best guard in the AFC and the NFC. So that probably get him in. So is there an outside chance that Terrell Owens can get in this year?
I would say if Randy Moss gets in, Terrell Owens should get in. You know, I think the rocky relationships with the media is coming back to bite T.O. But, if you look at the numbers, he's second all time in receiving yards, second all time or third all time in touchdown receptions. And, he has done everything. I mean, look at the Super Bowl 39 against the Patriots and playing on a bad ankle. And he had 9 catches for 122 yards in that game. So, um, that was one of the gutsiest performances in history, and they came up 3 points short, of course. But it's one of those things where you got to give credit where it's due and give him the nod to go into the Hall of Fame. I think he deserves it. I think that Randy Moss can get in. I think Terrell Owens should get in as well.
All right. Just a reminder, this is Know the Score. We're being brought to you by CSPN. Please visit our website, www.cspn.us, and support our podcast. You can support our podcast by supporting our sponsors. Hey, fellas, it's getting close to Valentine's Day. You want to do something special for your lady this year? Don't do the usual, take her out to dinner, try to make the reservations, fight the crowds. Go through cspn.us and click on the blueapron.com and subscribe to Blue Apron. You get fresh meals, ingredients, everything you need sent to your house with the instructions, everything measured out to you. All you have to do is just read and follow directions, and then you can have a nice home-cooked meal for Valentine's Day. And you also get $30 off your first order when you sign up for Blue Apron. So again, cspn.us and Blue Apron, do it today. So Dwayne, we're going to move into a little bit of NBA talk as the week got started with a bombshell as the Los Angeles Clippers seem to be in official acquire LeBron James mode, or at the very least, acquire Paul George mode, as they traded Blake Griffin to the Detroit Pistons for Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, Boban Marjanovic, plus a first and second round draft pick. So it looks like the purge of the Clippers has begun, and they're setting up to try to make a run at, this free agent class in the summer. Your initial thoughts when you saw the trade go down?
Well, I was probably as shocked as Blake Griffin was when it happened. Just include that GIF that he put out when he found out the news. And so I like the trade for the Pistons. Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond is going to be a pretty formidable front court. Then you got Reggie Jackson as the point guard. Stan Van Gundy coaching. This should help the Pistons keep up with the Bucks, Pacers, and Cavs in a very, very tight central race. And this is pretty much the Clippers are going all in on free agency, and hopefully they don't clipper it and end up coming up snake eyes, getting nothing. So you trade away all those guys. You trade away Blake. You trade away Chris Paul. Well, he left, but sign and trade, of course. And you do all this, and you don't get the guys that you want. And the guy that I feel bad for is DeAndre Jordan, who was literally held hostage in Houston by Blake Griffin, JJ Redick, Chris Paul, and Paul Pierce. And those four are either retired or not on the team. Well, they're not on the team anymore, either via retirement, trade, or free agency. And DeAndre is just stuck there. He could have been in Dallas right now. So it sucks for him. Avery Bradley gets reunited with Doc Rivers. Can't wait for the formidable backcourt of Austin Rivers and Avery Bradley. So good luck in the West for the Clippers. Big win for Detroit.
Yeah, the Clippers definitely are, trying to position themselves to make sure that this gamble pays off this time. You've got two really big fish out there in Paul George and LeBron. They're trying to get both of them, of course, if they can move DeAndre. I thought that was probably the thing that held them up the most from actually being a good team, is wasting that money on DeAndre when, they really didn't need it. They had Bryce Johnson also gets moved in this trade to Detroit, and that's going to help him because he was basically getting buried on the bench, and he was a young player, power forward, run and jump type of player. So to me, it just seems like, Doc Rivers, again, as a GM, is just getting in Doc Rivers' way as a coach. And if they can kind of clear that up and get themselves a real basketball personnel person to, separate Doc from the front office too, I think that they would definitely excel because, Doc is still good basketball coach, but I think his personal involvement with who's on the team and who's not on the team is starting to become a problem. You think that would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And it's one of those things where he's still living off that 2008 championship a little bit too. So it's one of those things where he needs to just focus on one thing. If he's going to be a coach, be a coach. If he's going to be a GM, be a GM. Don't be both.
Right. Now, in the it's a slow news day because this is the week of the Super Bowl, of course. There was a report that came out that said LeBron would listen if the Warriors somehow came up with a max slot for him this offseason. And of course, that sent the whole sports world, especially basketball world, into just, implosion as they just, had, thoughts of the Harlem Globetrotters if LeBron teams up with Steph and KD to form the super team of all super teams. That would probably be like a supernova or a black hole because, that's the way people reacted. Like the whole NBA would just be sucked in and nobody would ever be able to get back out. So is this just nothing and, just slow news day, or is this maybe LeBron just, floating something out there just to kind of perk people's interest and then he gets to be passive aggressive when people ask him about it?
Definitely the passive aggressive part. I think it's just a lot of smoke and mirrors. Slow news day, nothing going on. And, why not have the NBA establish some buzz while the NFL is getting, prepared for its championship? So this isn't anything. I mean, if any team could do it, it's the Warriors. They got the money to do it. Their owners are loaded. They could really do it if they wanted to. Lake of Goober, they would pay that luxury tax and then some. I mean, they're already paying for a brand new building in San Francisco, of all places. So they could do it if they really wanted to, but I think they're not going to do it. I think like Kevin Durant called it BS, and LeBron is missing it. And who's is he going to get 23 off of Draymond? I don't think so. So, um, yeah, this is just something to get people talking, and and I don't think it'll be much of anything.
All right. And then our final bit of NBA news, the Pelicans, in need of another big man to continue working their Twin Tower front court after the injury, season-ending injury to Boogie Cousins, went out and acquired Nikola Mirotic from the Bulls. Of course, Mirotic made news earlier this season as he was on the business end of some lefts and rights from his teammate Bobby Portis and had to miss like the first quarter of the NBA season. But he's a very good big man, power forward, inside, outside, very good 3-point shooter, very skilled in the post as well, good passer. Definitely will complement Anthony Davis just as well as Boogie Cousins did. So, Dwayne, are you as strong on this move as I am? That this is, maybe a little bit better because Mirotic, doesn't need as many shots as Boogie will to get the same production.
I'm a fan of this because it does make Anthony Davis the focal option once again, the top option, not a 1A, 1B, but a pure number one. And, Mirotic will help out quite a bit. And this does make New Orleans a solid playoff team yet again. We thought they might kind of struggle, fall back if they didn't make a move, but they did make a move. So it's really looking like Dell Demps is really trying to go all in towards the playoffs and keep that momentum going and do the right things to keep New Orleans thriving here in the post Boogie Cousins, post Boogie injury part of the season for the Pelicans.
All right. All right. So, Dwayne, I want to open it up to you at this point in the show for any final thoughts, shout outs, and thank yous that you'd like to add.
I would like to say, first off, with the Larry Nasser situation is very, very unfortunate. And it just seems like it's getting uglier and uglier. And with the whole Michigan State, everybody needs to be investigated at Michigan State why this was going on for so long. And it's really, really a sad situation there. And it just seems like there's just more ugliness is getting revealed. And, we don't know if and when the stories are going to end. I have one other brief final thought. Shout out to Miami for getting the 25th Major League Soccer franchise. So they'll be the 25th MLS team, and followed by, they followed Nashville. Nashville's granted a team, so they're 24th. LA Football Club, LAFC, starts this year. And so MLS is expanding. I think they're trying to get 28 by 2020. And so there's still three more cities that can still be in the running for a soccer franchise.
All right. Thank you, Dwayne. My final thoughts probably going to be about college basketball. We're coming into February. This is the time where the really good teams begin to start separating themselves and start showing their championship form. The later we get into this short month, heading into the tournaments that make up March. And right now, the traditional Blue Bloods are struggling a little bit. North Carolina, that is, has lost 3 games in a row with horrid 3-point defense, allowing 15 made 3-pointers in the past 2 games consecutively. We've got Kansas losing at home again, this time to Oklahoma State. They've got like a century's worth of losses at home this season alone. You've got Duke, they lost a tough game to Virginia. Both teams were in the top 5, and then they turned around again today, and as recording this, lost to St. John's up in New York in a big upset. So, we've got Villanova, Virginia, and Purdue as our top 3 teams right now. They've been, the most consistent. Michigan State has rebounded after, a little hiccup here or there. So March Madness and, this month of February is going to be very interesting to see who can separate themselves and head into the NCAA tournament and the conference tournament and be the favorites, to win the championship and cut down the nets. So really looking forward to this month of February as far as college basketball goes. So for the Libra icon, Dwayne, for That's So Jesse, Miss Jessie. For In Wilborn 19, our man Tobias Wilborn, I'm Don Delarente, and now you know the score.